The Center for Audit Quality presents Profession in Focus.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of Profession in Focus. I'm Cindy Fernelli, the Executive Director of the Center for Audit Quality, and I'm very pleased today to have as our guest Dr. Karen Horn. Karen, thank you so much for joining us.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
So Karen is the Senior Managing Director of Brock Capital Group and also the Board Chair for the National Association of Corporate Directors of the NACD, of which the CAQ is a proud partner with on many initiatives. But in addition to these positions, Karen also serves as the Chair of the Nominating and Governance Committee of Simon Property Group, the Vice Chair of the National Bureau of Economic Research, and the Vice Chair of the U.S.-Russia Foundation for Economic Development and the Rule of Law. So a lot for you to cover. You've got a great background, and I want to tap into some of that. So let's start with the first question, which is, as being named the Chair of the NACD, tell me what it is you have, your vision is for the NACD as you go forward.
Well, as you know, Cindy, NACD has been an advocate for directorship for a very long time, actually for more than 40 years. We now have more than 17,000 directors as members. And an issue that you know is very important to me is long-term value creation by our corporations. We have a real opportunity as directors and as the NACD to enhance the director's role and contribution to supporting long-term value creation in their corporations, for their shareholders, their stakeholders, and for society. There are just so many pressures for short-termism these days, starting with quarterly earnings reports. But you have activist investors, enormous uncertainty, volatility of markets, so that there's an ever more pressing need to focus on long-term value creation.
Well, it's interesting because I know that you were the co-chair of the NACD's Blue Ribbon Commission on the topic of long-term value growth. And in fact, we had you participate in a webcast that we did on that very topic entitled Coming to Terms with Shorttermism. And one of the things that you said during that webcast that really stuck with me, and I'd like you to elaborate on a little bit, is that a company is going to still have to have short-term activity, even as it takes a long-term view toward their operations. So talk a little bit about that balance between long-term value creation as well as the need for having more short-term activity to keep the company running.
Yes, Cindy. If we didn't have short-term actions, we wouldn't survive as companies. So short-term doesn't mean bad. Short-term actions need to be aligned with long-term value creation. Boards and management interact on and agree on strategy, and then that provides the framework for the long-term value creation and the framework within which short-term actions are designed to eventually get us to in the strategic direction and to the long term with genuine value creation.
So I want to switch gears a bit and talk to you about board diversity, something that's been at the top of people's mind, regulators, policymakers, board members, and not only the diversity of having a wealth of diverse backgrounds, but also what I would call the more personal diversity, whether it's age, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation. We are, I think, behind most of the rest of the world when it comes to board diversity, certainly with our companies in Europe. So talk to me about how we try to overcome that impediment that we seem to have here in the United States to getting a more diverse board.
The impediment starts with our process. And our process starts in a very sensible way. We are at the board table with the board, at the nominating committee, but also with the full board, and we say we need another director, and what kinds of qualities are we looking for in that director, and who do you know that would be a great director? Well, if the qualities we're asking for are C-suite experience, then we've narrowed the field right there. And the people we know in business are largely white males too. So that's a great start for the process, but the process has to be much more robust than that. And one way to do that, of course, is to hire an executive search firm. But they also know who they know. So once we get outside help and have expanded our field of view and have expanded the qualifications we're looking for, then we need to really make that into a very robust process. So we come back with the first iteration and it's not the list we're looking for. So we need to think harder about functionality. We need to cast the net wider with, as I say, with outside help. But we just have to keep at it because the people are out there, and we just have to ensure the process is robust enough to find them. Now, having said that, we're also interacting with our companies who need to be getting diverse candidate pools up through the management ranks, so that's part of it. And so it won't serve for our board of directors search this time around, but it is something very important to having a pool of diverse candidates ready to make the boardroom contribution.
Well, let's hope that it's successful and that we're able to speed up that process.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I know it's been a long time and we are behind some other people, but as I sit around board tables, a lot of the people that are deeply interested in diverse candidates are white men sitting around the table, so that it's not just a niche issue anymore around board tables.
So Karen, before I let you go, I do want to ask you briefly, Ken Daly recently announced his retirement as the CEO of the NACD, and he's really done a great job of bringing the NACD to the level that they are now, with I think 17,000 members and just a really great organization. And I know that Peter Gleason, his successor, is very well poised to take on that role. But any insights as to what we can expect from the NACD going forward under new leadership?
Well, as you know, one of our areas we interact with directors on all the time is CEO Succession, and so now we're doing it ourselves. And we are very confident that we've done a very good job of selecting our CEO. Ken, in his years here at NACD, has really built the organization in size and quality and creativeness of offerings, the things that are really interesting to directors. Peter's been his partner that whole time. In fact, Peter has been with NACD for even longer than Ken has. And they've had a partnership, so we're very excited that we had an internal candidate who had all the qualifications to really step into the role without losing a beat. Now, of course, the next part of CEO Succession, as we talk to directors about it, is the actual transfer, and where the staff and the directors are all very excited about what will be the next chapter. And Ken has really been working on this for a long time, as he's been grooming Peter to be a successor. So we're very optimistic that we are going to have a wonderful CEO succession.
Well, we look forward to continuing to work with you, and Peter and the NACD are really a great partner for us. So,
and you for us.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Karen. And thanks to all of you for joining us for this edition of Profession in Focus.